Hello, everybody. It's me again. It's been a while, I know, but I've been kind of trying to get the use of being back at a full-time job, 40 hours a week, plus working a part-time job on the side, so I've not had as much time as I'd like. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to do this on a regular basis real soon. Today is the first anniversary of Trump's inauguration. And as you probably know by now, I'm not exactly a fan of Donald Trump. Here is the problem. Policy-wise, he's not really that shocking. We knew exactly what we were getting when we voted for him. The problem is his demeanor. And the fact that he acts like someone who is completely and totally corrupt. Now, I'm not someone that brings up Watergate comparisons lightly. I didn't do it when Bush was in office. W was in office, I should say. And even though there were some people who brought that up, and there were probably some people who thought that Bush was quite corrupt indeed, or at least members of the administration. But W looks like a clean sheet of paper compared to Donald Trump. And I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. Donald Trump clearly, from the very beginning, looked corrupt. The whole Russia business, he's been acting like it's a witch hunt. The problem is, he's been acting like a guilty person who thinks he's the one being persecuted, when in fact it's not the case. Excuse me for a second. Here's the problem with Donald Trump. If you're totally innocent of these charges, you want to have everything spread out, you want to be investigated, and you want the record cleared. What do we constantly see? Donald Trump claiming that this is a witch hunt, that the Democrats are out to get him, that the Democrats are jealous that he won the election. But here's the problem. There is evidence, significant evidence, that shows the Russians interfered in this election. There are one or two ways this could go about. Let's say the Russian interference did not impact the result of the election. Okay? The mere fact that they attempted to influence an election should scare you, regardless of political party, that a foreign power, a hostile foreign power, would try and influence an election in this country should scare you. But we're supposed to ignore that. We're supposed to think that all this stuff is just make-believe by so-called fake media, who, by the way, are in competition with each other. They want to beat the other out. They're not unified in any way, okay? There's this myth among the right that that liberal media is supposedly this huge united front against Donald Trump. And while they may have a unified belief that something fishy is going on, they all want to top the other in getting the scoop on any kind of story that may actually convince people that Donald Trump is actually as crooked as we feel he is. Those of us who don't exactly buy into his cult of personality. And there is the problem. There is a cult of personality around Donald Trump. A very serious one. And to me, it's scary. There are people I know who generally can see through bullcrap, who don't realize Donald Trump is feeding them a ton of bullcrap. He's feeding them the most bullcrap a president has ever fed. Now, I know every president has their faults. And I didn't buy into Obama's somewhat cult of personality, where people thought he was the next coming of Jack Kennedy or FDR or something like that. Obama was a good president, not a great president. He knew what he was getting himself into, being the first black president. He was going to get a lot of obstruction. A lot of that was racist. And then Hillary Clinton ran for president. And we saw a lot of sexist stuff in the election because supposedly women aren't supposed to be running for president. Now, I know Hillary Clinton is no clean, saintly person or anything like that. She's corrupt. I won't deny that. But there's corrupt, and then there's really corrupt. We all know politicians are far from perfect. We all know politicians are not holier than thou. They're in it, in many cases, for themselves. But Donald Trump is so blatant about it. He's profiting from being president. His own properties are profiting from it. He's going out of his way to go to Trump properties so government money is spent at his properties. And we don't have a problem with this? It would be one thing if he were giving the government a free pass, allowing them to use it for free. He's not. He is charging the government, thus you and me, because we fund it, for the use of Trump facilities while he's president. I could go on and on. There's enough evidence out there right now, in my honest belief, if the Republican Party were the Republican Party of old, of principles and truly of law and order, they would convict, and here comes Tucker, they would convict Donald Trump, impeach him, and get rid of him. Hang on just a second, folks. Come on in, Tucker. My apologies there. The dog we have had been out for a while and decided to finally show back up while I was doing this show. But alas, there comes a point when you have to say enough is enough. And the Republicans aren't doing that. They are so beholden. They're so beholden to the idea that the Democrats are evil, any regulation is evil, any kind of modernization of any kind of getting close to liberalization is evil. They look at themselves as the party of God. And it's scary that an evangelical Christian party is aligned with Donald Trump, who has cheated on his wives, who has had some very flaky and business shenanigans. I mean, we can list them all here. I don't have enough time to do that. But it's ridiculous. These are people who claim to be Christian, who is supporting someone who barely knows the Bible. He's a phony. He is as blatant a phony as there ever has been in the White House. And yet we keep saying, oh, well, Bill Clinton sexually harassed Monica Lewinsky. Yeah, he did. He got impeached for it. He didn't get convicted. You don't want to know why? Because if you held Bill Clinton, if you held Congress to the same standards as Bill Clinton, 2/3 of them would be gone tomorrow. Okay? It was all political theater. And by the way, Bill Clinton was dumb enough to not pay off Paula Jones, fall on his sword, admit he screwed up. The whole Lewinsky thing wouldn't have come up anyway. But Bill Clinton likes political drama. Bill Clinton is proud of the fact he's the second president ever to be impeached. Okay? He likes political drama. He's a political drama king. Hillary Clinton, for better or worse, would be a much better president than Donald Trump. I fervently believe that. Even at her worst, she'd be better than what we have now. We have a president who has provoked damn near provoked nuclear war with North Korea. We have citizens in Hawaii last week who got a text saying missiles were incoming, and they believed it. This was not a fluke to their eyes. They were scared for half an hour thinking a missile with a nuclear device was headed their way. Donald Trump was on a golf course somewhere. Now, Donald Trump can play golf all he wants to. I don't care. Frankly, if he let other people, competent people, handle running the government and go play golf every damn day, it would not hurt my feelings. Okay? Dwight Eisenhower did the same damn thing, and we were pretty good a country for it. Okay? But there are shenanigans around Donald Trump's people. The Mueller investigation has already claimed some scalps already. They're going to claim more scalps. They may very well claim his son, Donald Jr. They may well claim Eric Trump. They may very well claim Ivanka and Jared Kushner. I mentioned Watergate. There was a fervent belief at the time, and even afterwards, that Richard Nixon was not guilty, and he was a victim of a conspiracy to bring him down. History has shown that Richard Nixon was guiltier than we even imagined at the time. And those around him were just as guilty. So here's the problem. How do we realize, in this very toxic media environment, that the president is not committing? How can we tell if he is or is not? You have Fox News basically acting as a Trump propaganda channel. You have MSNBC acting as a Trump persecution channel. CNN, who should be the epitome of cable journalism, instead is a victim of its own want of ratings. They want to be infotainment. They want to entertain you. They want to get ratings instead of actually telling you the truth and backing it up. And I could go on and on about the media on both sides, of left side, right side, and the so-called impartial media. But here's the crazy thing. The Washington Post is reporting on this stuff. They're finding stories about this. A lot of my conservative friends say there's nothing to this, there's nothing, it's all a conspiracy. But what if there is something to it? What if all this is true? Many of their grandfathers and fathers and mothers and grandmothers thought that there was nothing to Watergate. We found out otherwise. What if there's something to all this Russia business? All of these shenanigans that happened during the election? What if it's worse than has been reported? What happens if we were to find out conclusively that Donald Trump, either wittingly or unwittingly, is being used by Russia? You don't think Vladimir Putin wouldn't pull a trick like that? He's a former KGB agent. He has clear designs of what he wants Russia to be. He wants Russia to be the most powerful nation in the world. And it seems like Donald Trump would believe Russia over his own intelligence agencies. When is the last time a president, past or present, or any politician, favored a foreign hostile power over their own country's intelligence agencies? If your own intelligence agencies are telling you this nation interfered in the election, and you don't believe it, and you deny it, and you believe the foreign power, That is borderline treason. The question before all of us right now is this. What does the president know about what's been going on? When did he know it? And how involved is he in this? Did he leave it all to Donald Trump and Eric Trump and Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, Kushner, and all these other underlings under them and stayed above the fray, so to speak? Or how deep is he in all of this? How many people is Donald Trump willing to sacrifice for this? We saw Richard Nixon sacrificing his own best friend, John Mitchell, the man who ran his campaign, the man who was his attorney general. He sold him out and allowed him to go to prison. He sold out two of his closest advisors, Ehrlichman and Haldeman. Allowed them to resign and threw them under the bus. You don't think Donald Trump wouldn't do the same thing to protect his own skin? The only difference is Richard Nixon was a whole lot politically smarter than Donald Trump is. But we live in a much more different media time. There isn't an organized conservative media that is buying into everything Donald Trump does. They're not being critical. They're even going against fellow Republicans who see the light. But all of a sudden, you start seeing them realize, hey, I want to get reelected. Or I want to be looked upon favorably in my district. So I got to back Donald Trump. We're now in a government shutdown. It's clear it's the fault is the Republicans. But Donald Trump is blaming the Democrats. You were in charge of both houses of Congress. You have the votes to pass this stuff. Why are you not passing it? Because you want that stupid wall, which, to be perfectly frank, is just something he can claim and go, I built that. That his children can say, my daddy built that, when it can be dug under. It cannot go completely, entirely across the border because there are places where it's physically impossible to put that wall because the terrain is simply too rugged to put any kind of wall. And there are a lot of politicians in Washington who I fervently believe realize that Donald Trump and his wall are too expensive. It is already looking like the Democrats are going to win massively big this year in the election. The winds of change are coming. Donald Trump is scared. Donald Trump realizes that he has to find a way to get the Republicans to retain both houses of Congress, especially the House of Representatives. If he doesn't, the Democrats may not have enough votes to impeach, but they may convince enough Republicans to impeach and convict. Remember in Watergate, it wasn't the Democrats that did in Richard Nixon. It was the Republicans who realized that their party and their nation was in trouble. We saw what happened. Richard Nixon fell from power because the Republican Party turned against him. Richard Nixon lost in the end because the Republican Party, not necessarily out of any high moral purpose, but because they realized their own butts were in danger of losing. And many of them did lose in that election. In the end, Donald Trump may very well suffer the same fate as Richard Nixon. Unless Donald Trump wants to be the first president to be impeached and convicted. Will Donald Trump go so far as to incite violence to protect himself from being impeached and convicted? And then there's, of course, the 25th Amendment. Will Mike Pence and other Republicans in the cabinet or in Congress come together and say to the president, you are incapable of performing the duties of the office of the presidency because either your mental stability is lacking or you are compromised in other ways. I turned 47 years old this year. I'm too young to remember Nixon, pretty much too young to remember Ford. I'm old enough to remember Carter. That wasn't the most ideal presidency, but Carter was pretty much a trustworthy guy. Maybe too trustworthy in the sense he was too earnest for D.C. Reagan was far from perfect, but Reagan came at a time where we really needed someone like him to resurrect the spirit of America, to resurrect patriotism. I could tell you a lot about Reagan that I don't like, but I will give the man credit. He did come about at a time where we needed someone like him. Even though I may have disagreed a lot of his politics, he helped raise America's spirit. George Herbert Walker Bush, adequate president, not great, not bad, did well enough in the Gulf War, made some mistakes though. Bill Clinton, policy-wise, great president. Ethically, morally, not so much. George W. Bush, not so great. Barack Obama, good, not great. Donald Trump is by far the worst president in my lifetime. By far. Here's the thing. If I agreed with Donald Trump's politics, I'd say the same damn thing. The man is dirty. The man is corrupt. He is the most corrupt person in a very corrupt city. He's not draining the swamp. He's flooding it. Even more. The people he's put in his administration are blatantly trying to undermine the very agencies they're running. They're blatantly playing into corporate power. And why? Because it's all about money for Donald Trump. His son a few days ago said, Donald Trump's not racist, all he sees is green. I don't believe that. I do believe he sees in green, but I also believe he sees in only rich people mattering. So he's not entirely racist. He just hates people who aren't in his circle. Rich, powerful people. And there's the problem. The people who should be powerful, the people whose voices should matter, aren't being heard because money talks big time in Washington, more than ever before. And Donald Trump is the epitome of that. In the end, Donald Trump may fall. He may resign. He may be impeached and convicted. Or he may keel over of a heart attack and die. I don't want to see that happen. But you never know. The man is in his 70s. He doesn't exactly have the greatest diet in the world. I don't care what his physician said last week. If you fully believe he is actually really 238, whatever, at 6'3", I got oceanfront property in Omaha, Nebraska I could sell you. The problem is more than Donald Trump. We have a political system in this country that is simply broken. Big money talks way too loudly. Folks like you and me don't really have a voice anymore. Corporations are people. Really rich people who have a really loud voice to undermine your voice. I want you to think about that. For those of you who support Trump that are listening to this, do yourself a favor. Step back. Take a step back. Look at the big picture, as Frank Underwood said in House of Cards. Look at the motivations. Look at what's going on around Trump. Ask yourself this question. What if he's compromised? What if he is as corrupt as they say he is? Or even partially corrupt? Get away from policy for a bit. Ask yourself this question. If this man were a Democrat doing what he's doing as president, would you support this man? Tweeting like a madman in the middle of the night. Going off on rants. Criticizing his own party. And going the White House saying one thing and Donald Trump saying another thing on Twitter. There's inconsistencies all around. In the end, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump will be judged by a higher authority than you and me. One day he will pass on, and I'm a person of faith to a degree. I believe he'll face God at the end of his life, and I think God will look at him and go, you are not worthy of crossing the pearly gates. Okay? I don't believe Donald Trump believes in Christ or God or the Bible or any of that. He believes in money. And you bought into it. So if you Team Trump folks in the Trump train, whatever, get off the train. It's going to wreck. It's going to hurt this nation. It could potentially kill lots of people. It could potentially crash the economy to a point where, because there are a lot of troubling signs that this is like the 1920s all over again. The massive deregulation, the stock market soaring and soaring higher and higher without the safeguards to make sure that the collapse that is inevitably going to come, because stock markets do come down, and sometimes really, really hard. So ask yourself this question. What if it's true? What if Donald Trump is compromised by Russia? What if Donald Trump isn't who you thought he was? Are you prepared to change your mind? Are you so blinded by this belief that Donald Trump is touched by God, supposedly, even though he's far from a man of God, that he is truly a patriot, even though he may very well be compromised by a foreign power like Russia, that you can't say, I was wrong? Are you bold enough to change your mind? I would love to find conclusive proof that anything I've talked about is wrong. I love this country. It's far from perfect. It's got a lot of problems. But it's the country I was born in and raised in. And I love it. I love it enough to stand up and say that the man in the White House is not who you think he is. He is not a savior. He is not a patriot. He is not a man of God. He is corrupt, and he very well could be a traitor. That's scary. I don't say these things lightly. I wish to the very core of my soul I'm wrong. I hope I am overreacting. Okay? I hope I am overreacting. Okay? Because the price we will pay if I'm right and he is compromised and he has sold us out to Russia and sold us out to foreign powers, foreign interests, who want to bring this country down should scare the hell out of you, regardless if you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. He wants to divide and conquer. He wants a wall not to protect us, but as a monument to his vanity. He wants to throw people out because they're not like us, supposedly. Even though many of the people who are here are dreamers, people who are here when they were little kids, brought here by their parents. Ladies and gentlemen, this country is turning into something ugly. Donald Trump is not interested in you. He's interested in him and his clique, his little 1%. He wants to be rewarded for being a good boy. And that's the sad and sorry truth about it. Thank you for your time. Good night. Good luck. May the good news be yours.